Hello, everyone, and welcome to Analytical Fanboys. I am, of course, your host, Simeon the Vacuuminator Scott, and I am joined, as always, by the fascinating Chris Boingo Rider Gaston. How are you doing this evening, Chris?
I'm dying of symbolism.
Well, maybe you should get that looked at. Just a suggestion. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life.
Oh, yes, completely so. I'm just saying. That is literally one of my favorite panels from what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, if you haven't guessed, today we're talking about Grant Morrison's legendary 25-issue run on Animal Man, which is a comic that is definitely way better than it has any right to be. I'll say that, because Animal Man is not one of those characters you typically think about, or at least before this, you didn't typically think about as being amazing, but this run. So, Chris, why don't you tell us exactly why you picked this?
I'm a fan of Grant Morrison's. I'm also a fan of, like, the best way to put this is trippy shit. And this is very trippy shit. So, yeah. You want me to give a brief history of this
There's
run of
an
comics?
entire issue that you could kind of just title Trippy Shit.
Oh, are you talking about Coyote Gospel?
Yeah.
That's my favorite issue. I love Coyote Gospel. We'll get into that. You want me to talk about? Do you want me to give a brief history of the history of fucking Vertigo and Animal Man and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, first things first. Animal Man was in a DC superhero created in the 60s, I want to say. 50s, 60s? I can't remember. But around that time, pretty bog standard DC superhero, strong jaw, typical thing, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Forgotten to the annals of time. Later, in the 80s, DC went, you know what? We like all these artists doing arty shit. Let's just give them their own line of comics to do that kind of stuff with. And so we got Vertigo. That's where we got Sandman. Is that where we got Watchmen, or did Watchmen inspire it? I can't remember.
I think Watchmen inspired it.
Yeah, but basically it was all comic books designed to be art. And one of the comics that they did was a story by a British youth, which was a reboot reimagining of Animal Man in the modern post-crisis time of the comics. And then things get weird.
Yeah, I think that's that's a pretty good setup.
So, yeah.
So this thing is fucked.
In the best way possible.
Yeah, I mean, I read the last, I want to say 10 issues in one sitting, and yeah.
Does that include the peyote trip?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And
oh wait, that includes one of the best panels of all of comic history. We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to it, but there's basically this comic left me mentally damaged for a day and a half. I had to process this one quite a bit, and I think that might be the first time that's happened on this show. I was highly impressed by it. I really like it. I think there's a lot of good discussion of the nature of storytelling and good and evil and how we go about trying to perpetuate those things. And it's also just a really solid superhero story. You know, it's Grant fucking Morrison. You know how a Grant Morrison book works if you've read a Grant Morrison book.
You get some classic comic book shit. He brings back an old character from like the 50s and goes like, hey man, remember this guy? He was awesome. And then trippy shit happens. That's every Grant Morrison book. Oh, Lord.
That is pretty much it, yeah.
But so the way the book starts out, you wouldn't expect to get to the point it does.
No, because it just kind of starts off as your average DC superhero book, where
A little darker, but like,
well, you don't even get the darkness for a couple of issues. The first issue is just kind of Animal Man going, I'm fucking bored. Guess I'll go actually be a superhero for once. You okay with that, honey? Okay. Want to help me train for a week? Cool, let's go out to the woods.
yeah, I like their marriage. It feels very supportive.
Yeah, it feels like kind of the ideal marriage where they're both very supportive of each other, they both like each other a whole lot, but there's certain lines that, like, if one of them crosses, the other's gonna get pissed off.
Yeah,
Like,
and they know, and they basically go like, "You pissed me off," and it's like, "I'm sorry. Let's talk about it."
yeah.
But yeah, the first couple issues is just basically like Animal Man, animal rights activist.
Mhm. And it
Um,
works. It's a perfectly natural direction to go with that character, and had me thinking about that kind of stuff a whole lot. I was actually already on that thought pattern because I recently read a book called Godless, which was long story short, it's the story of a former extremely evangelical preacher who became an atheist that he talks about. And the whole point of the book is basically you don't have to be a Christian to be a good, kind person. Look at me. Here's the kind of person I am, and here's what I do with my life. And got me thinking a lot about how, like, that's something I've always believed in, but, like, I don't, do I really practice that belief as much as I should? And then because of this book, I started thinking that way about animal rights and stuff like that. Like, I've thought about being a vegetarian several times in my life, but I've always come out of it going like, yeah, I know literally everything says it would be a good idea, but I just like the taste of meat.
yeah, but
And and a lot of his and Morrison even has a moment in the final issue where he says like it was getting a bit too preachy, but like I liked how preachy he was getting. I liked how he was sort of exploring every angle of it and helping me to think about it in ways I hadn't before. Especially there's that scene later in the book where he catches his son eating a hamburger and he basically says like, look, here's why I'm a vegetarian and the rest of the family are vegetarians. I'm not saying you have to be, but I'm saying think about it, which I really liked.
um, and also in this first little arc, we have the reemergence of an old comic book character, Bawana Beast.
Yeah, who I was actually more familiar with than I was Animal Man going into this because
Really?
he's in an episode of Justice League Unlimited, and I love that show.
Oh yeah, he was. Holy crap! Neat.
So I had this moment of like, oh hey, it's Bawana Beast, and then I got to learn everything there is to know about Bawana Beast, and I was like, this is cool.
Yeah, and then we got a fucking better Bawana Beast later on. But ultimately, this first little arc, Animal Man is like hired by Star Labs.
It's one of the many scientific organizations in the DC universe.
DC has science labs like Marvel has terrorist organizations.
Yeah, and then DC also has an overabundance of anti-terrorist organizations or just secret government operations.
Okay, quick tangent. Let's go with this mindset real quick. What are the definitive blanks of Marvel and what are the definitive blanks of DC? Because we just like DC is known for having science labs, Star Labs, Central Labs, all these kind of labs.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So Marvel has terrorist organizations. Hive, fucking AIM, Hydra, all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
What else? What else is there?
Shield is anti-terrorist. There's
But no, Marvel also has like sword, shield, and
they've
hammer.
got girl now.
Hammer.
Mhm.
And that includes like Hammer Tech and the acronym Hammer.
Most of Tony's later companies, Stark.
No, that's what Marvel
Stark.
has. Marvel has companies.
That's it.
That's what it was. That's what I was trying to figure out. What is Marvel? What's
got
Marvel's
a fuck
like?
ton of companies.
Because you have every single Stark company, you have Parker Industries, you have the Future Foundation, you have
Roxxon.
like Marvel loves companies, DC loves science labs.
Yes.
All right, back to Animal Man. Jesus.
But yeah, that first arc was just like a really good little superhero story that kind of like makes the point of, hey, if you ever fought Animal Man, that sounds dumb. Here's how his powers would be useful and cool. Like,
And we
there's a
get that
moment
10
where,
times more later on when he goes like, I'm gonna be weird with this shit.
yeah. Well, I just loved the moment when his arm got chopped off and you think he's gonna die, and then he's just like, oh wait, chameleon powers. And
No, it was
regrows
Earthworm.
it. Oh yeah, that's right. Earthworm powers, and he regrows it.
But even he's like surprised, wow, that fucking worked. Like, okay. And he just accepts it. But also, like, I love the whole end because Bawana Beast's power is he can fuse two animals together to make like a chimera for a temporary amount of time.
Fusors.
Yeah. And he is really, really pissed because the princess of the gorillas got kidnapped and is being experimented on. He goes, saves her, but she's too sick and she dies on his arms. And he basically takes that body, goes to the evil scientist who committed those experiments and goes like, all right, fuses them. So now he's dying, and all the other scientists thinks that's the ape that they were experimenting on.
Yeah, it's poetic and fucked up justice.
Yeah. And then we come to my favorite issue.
Coyote Gospel. Good lord.
Coyote Gospel is probably one of the best single issues of any comic book ever, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's kind of just Morrison making the points he will with the whole rest of the book in one issue.
Basically, in the middle of the Arizona desert, there is a were-coyote human-like thing that cannot die. And you're going like, why the fuck can it die? Is it an science experiment and everything? And there's this hunter trying to kill it because basically he ran over the coyote a while ago and it just ruined his life.
Mm-hmm.
And ruined another person's life as well. And basically he's blaming the coyote for it. And there's all these different things. An Animal Man finds out about it and he goes there and he runs into the coyote, and the coyote, instead of acting like an animal, just gets up, pulls out a scroll and hands it to Animal Man. And then we get a flashback. This coyote comes from a world of cartoons, like Looney Tunes.
It's Animal Man meets Wile E. Coyote.
Yes. Holy shit! This is the first DC Warner Brothers crossover.
Yep.
Why was everybody like going like, oh no, it's not gonna work when it's worked? Holy crap. Okay. But basically we find out that this is world of cartoon violence, and this coyote lamented this violence, saying it's wrong how we hurt each other and everything. So he goes to his creator, his god, and says, I wish for there to be no violence. And the god, I'm pretty sure it was more the tone of, how dare you question me, but I will give you what you want because you tried, but you have to sacrifice something great for them to live in peace. And the coyote goes like, I agree to this. The coyote is then transported into the real world, where every time he goes through some cartoony pain, like cartoony violence, he experiences pain.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, we know this, but Animal Man looks at the scroll and it's just scribbles, and he goes like, I can't read this.
And that's it. That's the fucking end of the story.
We never see
that coyote again.
The hunter kills the coyote finally. And
what?
In the middle, in the middle,
I must be remembering it wrong.
The hunter kills the coyote, and the coyote is laid across the middle of the road like a cross in Jesus pose, blood dripping out, and you zoom out and you see a hand draw the blood puddle, and it's like
See, I read that issue like a fucking week ago now.
Yeah. Coyote Gospel, man, like that's my shit. It is so good. It sets up everything else in the comic, and it's just a weird, absurd story in the middle of what at that point in time in the comics, it's like a relatively normal comic book story.
Yeah.
Like if Animal Man didn't go off in the direction it did at the end, this would be like the weird, like what the fuck was this all about?
Yeah.
You know?
This would be the thing kids are still writing college papers about.
Oh man. But it's such a good, even the name Coyote Gospel, that's just such a good name.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love this issue. It's one of my favorite issues.
You know what my favorite issue is?
What?
The Mirror Master one.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Because I barely knew shit about Mirror Master going into that, and I came out of it like, Mirror Master might be one of my new favorite DC villains because he is awesome.
He's great. And he has like a code of honor because later on he helps Animal Man. It's like, yeah, no, they fucked you over. I'm helping you.
Yeah.
And he's Australian, which is always a plus. I love how my dumb jokes just make you laugh.
Quote via Vince McMahon.
What?
I said quote via Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah. He's Australian. I just like him. Assassins and all that kind of stuff. And we just, and for the next arc,
some of the most well planned out action I've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. And for the next arc, it's just kind of more Animal Man doing Animal Man shit. He joins the Justice League.
The Justice League Europe.
Yes. Which was that supposed to be Justice League International, or am I getting my timelines confused?
I think Justice League International was another team.
Okay. But he joins the Justice League. He's out on patrol one day, and Superman shows up, and he's just Superman, and it's great. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And he just goes like, "Hey, I heard you were a new hero roaming around. I just want to say hi, welcome you to the family."
I like how he's clearly trying to be really nice, but because he's Superman, he also has to kind of be a dick and just leave to take care of a thing.
Yeah, but like you understand that if you were talking to Superman, he went like, "Wait, hold on, there's a fire." You go like, "Oh, no, go take care of it. You're Superman."
And then Buddy's immediate reaction is to go to a payphone and call his wife.
Oh man. But I love how genuine a lot of the Justice Leaguers we see are. They don't dismiss Animal Man because, he's Animal Man. Like, no.
Oh, dude, the issue with Martian Manhunter, where Martian Manhunter fucking scares away his kids' bullies. That was awesome.
Yeah. It just shows how
Martian Manhunter is like one of my favorite DC characters who doesn't get any fucking credit these days, and shit like this just makes me love him more.
Yeah. But like, it's just a bunch of cool shit. And then we have the Africa arc. Where
do you want to do it or should I?
You do it.
I miss the rains down in Africa.
Why the fuck did you go into a southern accent?
I didn't mean to. It's just because my voice is so hoarse right now.
Horse, Animal Man. Ha!
Hey-o!
But the Africa arc, where shit's going down in Africa because of some fucky shit. No, it's Bwana Beast basically goes like, yeah, no, I can't be Bwana Beast anymore. It's my time to pass it on. And he needs to go to Africa and pass it on to another person.
Which I really like that. I like that idea in a legacy hero where just at a certain age you have to pass it on.
All right, you're 13. You can't be Robin anymore.
It's like the codename Kids Next Door.
Like, the tights don't fit you anymore, kid. We're seeing a little bit too much bulge, and you can see definition, and you are too old for that.
Yeah. And that is why Tim Drake wore pants.
But all that kind of stuff happens in like terrorist organization. Yeah, no, a terrorist dude who's like immortal wants a thing. I can't remember what the thing was.
There was some kind of mystical power that was buried in Africa.
Now I remember what the thing was. It was an alien spaceship that gave Animal Man the power to graft onto other animals. And that's the whole thing there. That's all in Africa.
That's where we start figuring out that there's more going on.
More going on? That's more like you see a single like particle of dust and you go like, huh? And then you start looking up and you see a giant cloud and it's like, oh.
Yeah. Because the aliens are talking in like fucking metaphysical fan terms and we're just like, oh. But to Buddy, it sounds like an alien language.
Yeah. Bwana Beast transfers his powers to another person, and we have one of the best lines in this entire run. How did he die? Of symbolism. Because throughout the whole thing, the Africa arc takes place in South Africa during the apartheid.
Yeah.
And so this racist
white when this came out.
Yeah. It didn't end until like the mid-90s?
Yeah.
Or around that time. And this was late 80s, this comic. But basically there's this racist white dude dogging like one of the rebels and going like, you know what they say about unicorns? And he goes on, it has this big long rambling thing about unicorns. It doesn't mean shit. He's just being poetic to be an asshole. And so when this new African dude, this black guy, gets the Bwana powers, he fuses a goat and a zebra to make a unicorn and has it attack the guy. And it's like perfect. That's like perfect.
That is crazy.
It's such a good moment. And that's all. And this is also around the time when where Grant Morrison basically starts going like, hey, all these animal-based superheroes, they have very similar origins. And he starts planting that seed in there. Oh, good lord.
Yeah.
Like, Vixen is here.
Yeah, I forgot Vixen was in this. I also know her from Justice League Unlimited, but she seems like a very different character in the comics, and I kind of don't mind.
Yeah. And I think it's right after the Africa arc. It's when his family's killed. No!
Because the Justice League Europe thing happens.
No, peyote. Peyote happened. No.
It's Justice League Europe, then peyote, then family dies.
Yeah. Because the peyote... When was his powers fucked up and he had to go get help? No, that was Africa.
Yeah, because that was due to the events of Invasion.
Yeah. Invasion, Africa, fixes his powers.
We didn't even talk about Invasion. That issue with Hawkman is amazing.
Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. And it gets called back. Oh, my God. That's one of the best things ever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk. Describe the comic. What that happened in.
It's in a dude who's an artist is gonna make a big art show out of his death because he's a because he's a Fanagarian, and Fanagarians are weird. And he does it, and Animal Man tries to stop it, and he can't figure out how. And we get the guy's life story, which is a pretty prototypical artist life story, at least for fiction. And then Hawkman shows up and just turns the bomb off and goes, all you had to do was switch it off. And that's the last page of the comic.
Yeah, but it's like such a profound statement when he makes it. It's just like whenever you have a big problem and you don't understand, just turn it off.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, so invasion, that whole thing happened. In Africa, that's when we get one of the most interesting forms of his power, where he copied a single-celled organism.
Yeah, that's right.
And multiplied himself.
That was awesome. Because if you think about it, Animal Man can technically do anything any superhero can do. Because a lot of superpowers are just based off of weird shit from nature.
Yeah, like there was one moment when he made a sonic boom by copying a pistol shrimp.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like, you wouldn't think about that unless you read National Geographic regularly.
You know, he probably watches National Geographic, and his wife walks in and goes like, "What are you doing?" Research.
That would be a great scene. Somebody put that in an Animal Man comic.
Because when he got his powers fixed, he realized, oh, I don't have to be near the animal. I can just use any animal that's alive. Which really boosts his power.
Yeah, it puts him at God tier levels, which he kind of has to be for the final arc.
But also, like in later continuities, they basically turned Animal Man into one of the conduits of living animals because they made the red and the green.
Yeah, that's Jeff Lemire's whole thing, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I definitely want to read the Jeff Lemire run after having read this, because everybody tells me that's like the other really good Animal Man run.
Because like the red is all the animal spirit and morphology and all that kind of stuff, and the green's all the plant-based stuff. They always forget about the fungus, because fuck them.
What would that be? The gray?
Maybe, who knows?
They made I know they made a movie about it starring Liam Neeson.
Motherfucker. Why would you do this to me?
Because it was right there. I couldn't help myself.
And then we get peyote.
So we're just skipping the Europe Time Commander thing?
No, wasn't that after peyote?
I'm pretty sure it was before.
Oh god, hold on.
We're gonna have to go and look at the issues.
We're gonna fucking have to Google this shit. Alright. Do.
Scrolling.
Okay. When you have this in flippity flopping.
Oh, you know what's right after Africa?
What?
The Spooks.
Spooks. What was Spooks?
Where there's somebody lurking around the house and we don't know who it is.
Oh, that right. Okay. Because of the thing.
Of the big S. Not that big S, the other big S.
The big shit.
Yeah. That issue is good. And then the Dolphins. The Dolphins are after that.
Right, dolphins, and that was more of like a return to form, but more simple.
That was a nice little Dunham one about animal rights.
Yeah.
Which I had never even heard about that shit, and there were moments in that issue where the narration is just dropping facts about this phenomenon in Europe, and my jaw just dropped. Like the bit about people cutting out dolphin fetuses for kids to play with. Oh my god.
Yeah. And then hold on, I got the comics up now, so I'm looking at them so we can actually get.
Okay, there's the Europe arc.
All right, so all right, Spooks. Then we have after Spooks, Dolphins. I read this all, and it's just Time Wizard, the Time Dude.
Yeah.
With Europe and the two stretchy men.
Uh-huh.
Basically, shit goes down in Europe.
Yeah. The Time Commander, who I'd never heard of before, he gets his powers back and just starts screwing up time. So Buddy has to go help the Justice League Europe, which is convenient because he was in Paris anyway, with his wife celebrating the fact that her book got published.
Yeah. And also like Morpho's there, and he's cool.
Metamorpho, yeah, I like that guy.
Always love his look, but it's always like a weird look.
Yeah, it's very of its era.
Which, you know what, I don't mind. And I love how everybody tries to fight him, and Animal Man just goes like, "Hey man, could you like stop?"
That is consummate Animal Man at that point. He is talk your problems out the superhero.
Yeah. Which, you know what, is great. That's a good character to have. We need more of them.
Yeah. There's also a really great just one-page scene with Ralph and Sue Dibney, who are much like Buddy and Ellen, one of the most underappreciated couples in DC.
Yeah. And the next issue is pretty much just all setting up things. It's just continuing. Yo, this is the path Animal Man's on. This is everything he's doing. Blah blah blah. This is where his life is right now.
Oh yeah, with him making a mistake and rethinking things.
Yeah,
that was brutal.
Yeah, and then we have the Native American dude. I can't remember his name. What was his name?
American dude.
Hold on. Let me. Basically shows up and goes like, "Hey, I'm disappearing from reality. Help me."
Oh yeah. I didn't even realize that guy was meant to be Native American. I just thought his skin was red because comics.
No, I think he's supposed to be Native American. That's why there's a connection to the peyote.
Yeah.
In fact, I think later on his
skin is red because racism.
No. What the? It's not even. It's redder. It's still a human color.
It's pretty red, dude.
It's very pink.
Also, I love how Morrison just telegraphs so hardcore that Buddy's family is gonna die.
Oh yeah, here's an assassin in the background.
Mm-hmm. And then there's literally just a page where, as he's leaving to go help the Native American dude, Ellen is just like, "Buddy, hey, look after yourself. Take care." And they look at each other, and there's this very clear feeling from both of their expressions that one of them isn't coming back.
Yeah. His name is Jim Highwater.
Jeez, hang on.
Oh, but this little arc has probably the best panel in all of comics. The peyote arc has one of the best panels. I'm pretty like, you know what panel I'm talking about.
I know what panel you're talking about. They're probably looking at it right now.
But basically, Animal Man is on this peyote trip, and he's like learning all about himself. He's seeing the world through a third lens, and he's kind of everything's
he's communing with the 7 deities.
Yeah. And he's learning about how his life had changed and post-crisis and everything. And then he drops down into this void and talks to the Golden Age Animal Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like buzz cut, military style dude, Animal Man.
He's fucking pissed because of Crisis.
Yeah, because he's erased. He's not like the person who's Animal Man isn't Animal Man anymore. And it's like, yeah, you know what? It's understandable. And he's basically going like, was I not good enough for them? And Animal Man's going like, who's they? Who's they? And he's like going like, it's too late for me now. They like you more. You're more important. And he's just going like, turn around. And then it just slowly, Animal Man turns around and a full page spread of his face. I can see you. Oh my God.
That is a pants to be darkened moment if I've ever seen one.
What did you feel? What did you think when you got to that? Because I didn't warn you about any of this.
Well, see, I knew quite a bit about Morrison's run going in, just through osmosis. Like, a lot of people have recommended it to me over the years, saying shit like, because I'm a huge fan of the Deadpool Trilogy by Colin Bunn. And I also really love Gwenpool. Unstoppable Gwenpool is one of my favorite Marvel books of the last few years. And whenever I tell people that, they go, oh, you should read Morrison's Animal Man. All that stuff kind of started back there. So, just through reading this issue and some of the stuff that had happened earlier in the series, I kind of felt like a moment like this was coming. So, the impact wasn't there for me in the way it would have been reading this the first time for a lot of people, but I still thought it was extremely well executed.
Yeah, especially because it's the full panel, and considering the size of a comic book, that would have been full size.
Yeah, and Morrison almost never does full page spreads, at least in this run.
Yeah, so it's like a full one-to-one human head looking at you from a panel, and I'm pretty sure this was, you flip it and it's on the next page.
Yeah.
I can see you. It's like, holy shit, what the fuck? It's one of the best things. And then we just are immediately taken back into their world, and you realize, oh, he had a vision of us, and it's not like, oh man.
Yeah.
And then just more peyote trips.
Mm-hmm. And then he goes home, and fuck.
His family dead.
Yeah.
And probably like one of the most. This is probably one of those moments that comic book artists went like, yeah, let's kill their whole family and make it dark and edgy without understanding what this means for the comic. And because Grant Morrison did it with a very deft hand, he knew what he was doing. And people just went like, yeah, let's just kill families, and like didn't understand the point behind it. You know?
Yeah, and then the whole next issue is Morrison illustrating what the point is and why you don't fucking do that. Because Animal Man is just so fucked up he can't even eat.
I just love how in shock Animal Man is when people are asking, are you okay? And he just goes, very blank face, they're all dead. It's just like, you can feel the pain.
Yeah, it's clear that his family was his whole life.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've also been cutting back every once in a while throughout the whole book to a dude in Arkham.
Well, not just any dude.
Yeah,
it's the motherfucking psycho pirate.
Yeah.
I was excited to see because I'm a big fan of Crisis on Infinite Earths, and this is directly following up on where that book leaves him.
Yeah. Isn't that when Supergirl died?
Yeah.
Yeah. But like we've been cutting back to Psycho Pirate time and time again, just seeing what he's been up to, and like for no good reason. You just see him.
And he's just screaming about random bullshit. Which isn't exactly as random as you'd think, because it's Morrison.
Oh yeah. And remember what Morrison does? He brings back old characters and does some weird shit with them.
Yep.
Like, that's what he did with Animal Man. That's what he did with Moana Man. And now he's doing it with the pirate. And so basically, Buddy turns into Black Suit Spider-Man and goes on a revenge quest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Black Suit looks really fucking good.
It does. And oh my god, the funeral scene. We kind of skipped over that. The funeral scene just fucked me up.
Oh yeah, that too. And just love how Martian Manhunter is just there. It goes like, anything you need, man. Like, we're friends.
Yeah.
You know, that whole thing. And then
Animal Man's even like, look, I was planning to quit anyway. I guess you're going to have to give me a leave of absence for this.
Yeah, and like, it's not like it's like, no, we understand. We're helping you. Fuck anything about Justice League. No, you need help.
Yeah.
And then he just basically kills people. Animal Man just goes around and kills people, and probably one of the best, most brutal ways he did it. He got one of the people who orchestrated his family's murder and just pulls him under the water, and he can breathe underwater because he can connect to fish.
Yeah.
But that guy can't.
And he just holds the guy there. He doesn't do anything to actually harm him. He just holds him underwater.
And then he seals the other guy up in a tunnel. It's just very brutal without being very violent.
Without being gory.
Yeah.
And I imagine it's also just really cathartic for certain people because it's a fuck the rich, kill 'em all moment.
Yeah. And here's where
because the whole
just fucking helps him out.
We didn't talk about this, but the whole reason Buddy's family dies and he goes on this quest of killing these old guys is because they're a corporate conglomerate who aren't exactly in favor of animal rights. And so, with Animal Man being an animal rights activist, they need to get him out of the picture.
Yeah. And Mirror Master's there. He's just helping out because he knows, like, yeah, no, this was all fucked. You're the victim here. I'm helping you do this. Because you need a villain to help you get this, what you want right now. Even though at the end, Animal Man's just like, I didn't want this. Nothing changed. Like, so ultimately, it's bad for his character, but like, it feels good for the moment.
Yeah.
Also, Mirror Master just wanted his check.
Yeah. Which is kind of how the rogues roll. It's like they want to help people, but only when it helps them.
Yeah, that's why I prefer the Flash's Rogues Gallery to a lot of other Rogues Gallery, because ultimately, at the end of the day, they'll be like, yeah, there's a natural disaster, Flash. How can we help? We'll go to jail willingly after we help.
Yeah.
Which I much prefer that kind of comic book villain than I'm gonna kill your family because fuck you.
Fair
like,
enough.
I would even say at a big enough disaster, the Joker would help Batman.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd go there.
The Mark Hamill Joker would help Batman.
Okay, that Joker, yes.
Depending on the Joker. So, like, classic Jokers, like, there's certain Jokers you wouldn't, like the Joker who cut off his face and the Killing Joke Joker, they wouldn't help. But I'd say like 90% of Jokers, big natural disaster happens in Gotham, the Joker wouldn't help directly. He'd go, hey, Batman, here I am. Catch me so you can deal with shit.
Have you read No Man's Land?
Fuck no. Am I completely wrong?
You are completely wrong.
Yep.
The Joker does some very fucked up shit in No Man's Land. That's
Yeah,
all I'll
but like
say.
that's the thing. I like the happy-go-lucky Jokers better. I don't like the fucked up Jokers.
Fair enough.
I like my favorite Joker is Batman Brave and the Bold Joker.
I could see that.
I like those kind of Jokers better because at least they're like, yeah, it's chaos, it's fun, it's goofy. I'm a criminal. But like, yeah, I just get tired of the, oh yeah, he's the Joker, he's gotta kill people mentality people go with the Joker all the time. It's just like, I am tired of it. I'm bored.
I don't mind a Joker that's more brutal and kills people, but like there's certain rules with the Joker you have to follow. Like, what's the line from whatever happened to the Cape Crusader? I'm the Joker, kid. I don't kill people unless it's funny. Killing you wouldn't be funny.
Yeah. But also, I really like and appreciate like that one comic panel of the Joker when they had the DC Marvel crossover, and he was like, "Wait, you're a Nazi? I may be a supervillain, but I'm an American supervillain."
Yeah, I think that was pre-Crisis.
But that's the kind of Joker I like. It's like, I may be a bad guy, but I have morals. Like those kind of villains. I don't know why. Yeah. It's just a goofy comic book guy in me.
That's fair.
But basically, now that we're in the death bit, Animal Man goes back to the Time Master dude and gets a time backpack.
Yep.
So he can save his family. That doesn't quite work the way he wants it to.
It gets kind of screwy.
It gets so metaphysical and depressing, it's not even funny.
Uh-huh.
Because basically, he turns into a ghost and has to relive the last moments of his family. And just has to see them and cannot touch them and feel them and do anything like that. And so he's just sitting there having to relive this pain and torment.
Yep.
But then ultimately, it gets kind of fixed a little bit. No way. He goes backwards in time further and further and further, and then he runs into a fucking good couple of immortals.
He meets the Spectre, or is that the Spirit or the Spectre? I forget.
He runs into
the Stranger. That's his name. I knew it was an S.
Yeah, and then the aliens go talk to the Native American dude, and the Psycho Pirate is like fucking doing his shit, making comics from the real world come to theirs, and it's pre-Crisis comics, and it's like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Oh man, and things start getting weird.
Mm-hmm. And then we get to the issue where things really start getting red and weird, and we start getting certain things coming back from pre-Crisis, and yeah, I'll say it. I lost my shit when I saw Streaky.
Yeah, like basically the whole reason we've been following the Psycho Pirate while following Animal Man is basically Psycho Pirate's the only guy who remembers pre-Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
And so he is linked to an expansive multiverse and is driving him crazy. And now he's bringing in the previous multiverse back into this reality. So Ultraman, is it Ultimate Man? Detective Chimp is here.
It's Ultraman.
It is Ultraman? I just didn't think it was Ultraman because,
Japan.
Toku. Yeah.
But Ultraman, Power Ring, I forget what their version of Flash is. Streaky, Detective Chimp, a bunch of other characters.
Are just being Sunshine Superman.
Yeah.
And all that kind of stuff. They're just being
Meanwhile,
dumb.
Animal Man is stuck in the past, just having a metaphysical conversation with the stranger, Vandal Savage, and somebody, or is that Vandal Savage, or is it's Jason Blood? I get those two confused a lot. And the guy he fought in Africa is there, but younger and not a dick.
Yeah, and like Psycho Pirate summons a nuclear Superman who went crazy
Mm-hmm.
and is threatening to kill all of reality, and it's like, yeah, this is, and the thing is, Psycho Pirates the whole time it's just going like, look at all these characters that they forgot, look how cool they are, and it's basically Grant Morrison going like, why did we get rid of these guys? They're awesome, you know?
It's Superboy Prime, but not shitty.
Yeah. And then Ultraman like breaks the comic book boundaries and all that kind of stuff. And John Highwater's there, the aliens are there because this is what they were planning for. This is the eventuality that they were all planning for.
It's I believe they call it the Second Crisis.
Yeah. And like Animal Man shows up and he saves the day.
Yeah.
Oh man. But it's just like really cool. And it'd be like, and it's like all these background characters, you know, that this little mini arc was just like the prototype version of the fact that Grant Morrison will eventually create Multiversity. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Multiversity is basically a more complete version of just this very little tiny concept.
I think so. Definitely, yeah.
But like this has a lot of his hallmarks. Here's these weird old characters from the Golden Age because they're weird. And let's do weird stuff with them and blah 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 and save the day. And then eventually, and this is when the Hawkman things comes back and Animal Man turns off the bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, Bizarro. Bizarro is such a constant right now that you forget.
There was a time when there was no Bizarro.
And and Grant Morrison basically had to remind people, hey, by the way, Bizarro was a thing. And it's like, oh yeah, Bizarro was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's make Bizarro a thing. And now he's just a constant in DC.
And like Bizarro's original origin was he was one of two evil clones the Joker made of Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
And now he's just like a weird alien sort of inspired by Superman.
And I love how Animal Man just kind of becomes Bugs Bunny and goes and breaks reality because he understands it now. He understands what reality is like.
He's
now.
become woke.
Yeah. And so he's just like going behind the gutters and tapping guys. No, it's Overman. It's not Ultraman. It's Overman. No, it is Ultraman.
Ultraman is the guy with the big U on his chest. Overman is the crazy one with the bomb.
Right. And so they have to fight and all that kind of stuff. And basically the aliens go like, all right, in order to fix this, Psycho Pirate needs to be gone and someone else needs to remember all of this. John Highwater, that's kind of you. Sorry, you get a bum deal.
And do you know, have we ever revisited John Highwater?
I have no idea. But the way Animal Man beats Overman is he basically brings him into the gutters outside of the panels of reality and just closes him, erases him. And it's like, oh my god, I just want a whole, like, just character whose only power is that.
Well, that's Gwenpool, dude. That basically Gwenpool is that as a cute anime girl.
I think Ambush Bug also did stuff like that.
Which is why she's my Marvel waifu.
But eventually John Highwater explains the temporal theory of comic books, which I think Grant Morrison actually came up with to explain our reality.
Yeah.
Which basically
Grant Morrison just goes on fucked up tangents like that all the time.
Which basically is time is but single fragments of observability, similar to how panels are time fragments within a comic book.
Have you ever seen the video Grant Morrison Explains Life?
No, and you're gonna send it to me, so I can
I
watch
am.
it after we record this.
I am. It's literally Grant Morrison just going to this guy who's interviewing him. So here's how I understand life. For you to be standing here, you had to be 8 years old at some point. For you to be 8 years old at some point, you had to be 5 years old at some point. For you to be 5 years old at some point, you had to be in your mother's womb at some point. For you to be in your mother's womb at some point, you had to be a sperm in your dad at some point. And then he just keeps going and going and going on like trails of parents, and he's like, and that's how it works.
That doesn't explain shit.
I know.
It's great. Fucking love Grant Morrison. But basically, John Highwater becomes Psycho Pirate. They fix things. And then Animal Man goes to fucking limbo.
Yep. Monkey Puzzles is probably one of the most somber issues of comics about comics I have ever seen.
Yeah. Because there's also like a monkey typing out Hamlet. That whole like chestnut.
Yeah.
And this whole thing is a limbo for forgotten DC characters. And they're all real characters. They were really published characters. Grant Morrison didn't come up with any of them.
Yep.
And like you see the Joker Mobile and all these different like
you see Bat Hound,
Dumb Bunny, and that upsets me because I always thought Bat Hound was just like a constant thing.
You know? Some of the fucking kids from Prez are here.
There's just like a bunch of the Killer Bee dude. And was that guy on the motorcycle Commandi? No, it's Jason.
Gem, one of Martian Manhunter's original villains.
Yeah, but like there was Killer Bee, the guy who had like the sentient bee who helped him.
Oh yeah.
Which was a real character. And Mr. Freeze. You forget that Mr. Freeze had to be rebooted.
Yep.
Because it's so like Mr. Freeze, his wife, sick, and so because he
but that's not this Mr. Freeze. This original Mr. Freeze was just a generic jewel thief with ice powers. All the stuff about his wife and whatnot, that was Bruce Timm. Batman the Animated Series invented Mr. Freeze as we know him today.
Yeah. And if you think about it, that means this Mr. Freeze is still standing there in the snow, dead. Because we got a different Mr. Freeze, or two different characters.
Yep. You know, thinking of it that way, I'm surprised we didn't run into Golden Age Animal Man again in there.
Yeah. No, because he finally actually truly died when Animal Man became Animal Man. When this Animal Man, like, cemented himself, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, the whole time he's carrying one of these monkeys who was writing a script from the whole mental experiment of you have an infinite number of monkeys typing on infinite typewriters. Eventually, you will have a recreation of Hamlet. You know, that whole probability experiment.
Yeah.
So he's carrying him, and then he gets back to his house because he just made a giant trip around the globe. He looks at the script and he realizes it's his life. He cuts a key out of it and walks through a door, goes into a reality, and you meet Grant Morrison.
Yep. And the Grant Morrison in this comic looks nothing like how we imagine Grant Morrison looking now. It's kind of hilarious.
Oh, yeah, no. This Grant Morrison is but a young baby boy. And then you have one of the most interesting comic panels ever of a real photo of Grant Morrison.
That's the cover of issue 26.
Yeah. Sitting down with a foot on top of Animal Man, beaten and bruised. Like he's a villain. Which ultimately, in this comic, he kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
Because he basically admits, yeah, I just ruined your life because people wanted entertainment.
Isn't that fucked?
Yeah.
I tried to make up for it by making the book about animal rights, but it didn't work. It got too preachy. Isn't that fucked?
Yeah, and it's Grant Morrison not even like trying to explain himself to Animal Man. It's just like, yeah, that's what happens. Yep, sorry.
It's kind of incredible and wonderful, and you can definitely play with this trope from time to time again, as several books I've mentioned already in this podcast have. But I don't think he can ever do it as well as this did it, because this had build up and precedent, and there was stuff from earlier in the run to talk about here.
Yeah, and there's also like the visual element, because it's a comic book that that you can visually see how he's bending reality for Animal Man.
Mm-hmm. There's moments where he's literally just like, we need some action here. Can you fight these guys for 2 pages? And he's like, what?
And then he just does. And it's like Animal Man's just going like, why? He realizes he has no control over his life. And basically, I think that's what Grant Morrison's kind of talking about when he's going like, oh yeah, this is how time works. It's like a comic book. And he's basically going like, yeah, bad shit's going to happen in your life just because.
I also like how, because we haven't talked a whole lot about the art, Grant looks kind of like a ghost in this issue. Like he looks like he's something haunting, not of this world.
Yeah. And also he like invents a brand new superhero team just to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Just to prove a point. He makes a whole panel of absurdist imagery just to prove that he can.
Yep.
Like, just to like show that, yeah, no, I'm in control here. And everything you're saying is completely true, but it doesn't matter because I'm in control.
Mm-hmm. And then because Grant's a nice guy and the next writer needs a good starting point, he just gives Buddy his family back. No explanation, no nothing, just Buddy has his family back now, and he thinks the last issue was a dream.
Yeah. But for a metaphysical kind of story like this, where the whole point is, let's get to the point where we can have the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. I'm fine with it. But like, I love this little exchange right here. What I said, somebody else writes your life. They may play it safe and write you as a straight action hero who fights animal-inspired villains every issue. They may do the obvious and go for shock by turning you into a meat eater. I don't know. How can they make me eat meat? I don't eat meat. I don't want to eat meat. I'm a vegetarian. No, I'm a vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian. You'll be whatever you're written to be. And it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like that's the whole point of the book. Like,
I wouldn't. My favorite thing in the whole book is the last page. Do you want to explain what it is, or should I?
it's basically the last page isn't really the last page because you need a couple pages before it to really cement it. Basically, Grant Morrison apologizes for everything he did because, you know what, I'm a writer. We just need to do it. I just needed to write it for the people in my world. And basically says, forget we ever met, because he's a writer. He can do that. Yeah. And so Animal Man's just sitting there. He's drawn back into his house. He hears a doorbell and his family's there from a trip. And he goes like, it was all a dream. And he realized, and like, Animal Man's going, nothing's wrong at all, because part of him still realizes it because Grant Morrison's still writing it.
Mm-hmm.
So we then come back to the real world within the comic, and Grant Morrison's writing a script, basically saying like, yeah, I kind of went too hard on this. I kind of went too dark. I was kind of a dick. I was an asshole. And he tells a story of when he was a kid and how he tried to message an imaginary friend across the way with Morse code and a flashlight. So Grant Morrison in the comic goes and does this.
Soul goes back and does it.
Yeah, it goes back and does it. And he goes like, I don't expect anything to happen. This is just me reliving the imagination, reliving the story. And he walks away and the light shines. And it's like, oh.
That is... Oh, that's everything in storytelling to me. I fucking love that moment. Because it says yes, it's fucked up. Yes, it's only what we want it to be, and it's only what we dictate it to be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't still matter. That doesn't mean it can't have a life of its own.
That fiction is just as real as real.
Death of the author is a thing. It exists, and that's why it fucked me up, because it made me think about all this stuff I kind of go to every once in a while in my head all at once. Because have you ever heard of the concept of tulpas?
No, please explain.
So a tulpa, the briefest summation of it I can give is it's an imaginary friend for an adult. It was a concept created on some forum, I don't remember, but it's like a slightly old, obscure internet thing. And I was trying to think of like a nice way to explain why this came about, but I guess I can only do it by explaining it the way Kevin Smith would explain it. It's an imaginary friend, but you can have sex with it.
Okay.
And people, like, this idea originated, and this person said, yeah, I have this thing, and I do it because I don't have any companionship in my life, and I don't really want to put in the work to get it, and this works just fine for me. And then other people said, I'll try that. And they always said, and everybody who's ever tried it has had the response of, it worked for like 2 days. And then I brought up the fact that it didn't really exist to it. And it replied to me with, well, yeah, but I exist as long as you give me things to say, don't I? And then now we can't stop having metaphysical conversations about the nature of its existence.
Yep. Like, that's just shit that happens.
Like, that's why adults don't have imaginary friends. Adults read and watch stories, because if adults had imaginary friends, well, all they do is go through the same loop of, you don't exist. Well, yeah, but you make me exist. And like, I'll be honest, since I brought it up, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I have a tulpa. I had to try it for myself and see if it would really, what it would be like. And it's fucked to talk to a tulpa.
But like, there's another little moment I want to like bring up at the end of this comic. Grant Morrison's basically going like, yeah, I control your life. I kind of fucked it up. Yeah, my bad. This whole like nonchalant thing. What was this whole comic about up till around that point? Animal rights, right?
Yeah.
Animals can't control their whole life, so we have to be the bigger person because we're smarter, more intelligent, and take care of the creations we have. Much like how a writer should take care of the creations he writes.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, even the animal rights things falls into this metaphysical, metatextual fuckery.
It's pretty crazy.
Grant Morrison's a mad lad.
He yeah, he is.
Grant Morrison's a mad lad.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think there's much else to say except I fucking love this. I want to get it in trade as soon as possible. Made me want action figures of Animal Man and just about every other hero or villain that appeared in the comic. So that's a thing that's going to happen at some point. I've actually been considering, there's a 2-pack of Animal Man and B'wana Beast figures from the DC Universe Classics line on Amazon for $25 right now.
But like, the Animal Man is one of those seminal classic comic books, right up there with Watchmen, Sandman.
Mm-hmm. It's the classic comic about the nature of comics that nobody talks about until you get into that conversation.
weird how all these like classic like pillars of the industry are all like DC. Like, what are Marvel? Like, what are some of Marvel contributions? The Phoenix Saga?
Marvels is a pretty big deal. Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, yeah, that too, because that whole death thing, that was interesting.
Uh-huh.
Secret Wars, the original one from the 70s.
Oh yeah, because Secret Wars invented events.
Yeah.
Would you consider Miller's Daredevil to be important to the whole industry?
Important as a comic series, but not as like an individual story like Animal Man or Watchmen or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's weird. That makes me sad as a Marvel fan.
It does, but it means there's always room for improvement.
Yeah. There was one I thought was really good. It was basically like Marvel's answer to Kingdom Come.
Yeah.
Because basically Wizard asked Alex Ross to, hey, if you were to do Kingdom Come for Marvel, how would you design the characters? And so he did. And Marvel was like, that looks really good. Can we use these designs and make our own story? And it's this, the best way to put it is when DC gets weird, it gets metatextual. It gets reality's a thing, and like we're looking in at comics because Animal Man and all this kind of stuff, and like Neil Gaiman made it, and like when you talk about this weird side of DC, that's where it goes. In Marvel, it just goes cosmic and gets weird like that. And basically, this whole story is the core of the Earth is actually the egg of a Celestial. And the reason Galactus came to Earth in the first place was to eat the egg as a Celestial. But because we stopped it, the egg continued to grow and is threatening to destroy the planet. And the Watcher is actually basically a Celestial nurse who keeps an eye on the egg and has been lying to the Marvel heroes this whole time.
Well, fuck.
Yeah. And essentially, I'm trying to remember. Right. Because Franklin Richards can control reality. You need to remember that. Mm-hmm. Basically,
that's when they everybody in the Marvel universe stays the same age, pretty much.
Yep, because like it's when you just take down Marvel, it gets incredibly weird.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, when they first fought Galactus, they killed him, and Reed Richards goes like, "Oh shit, we need a Galactus." And so he basically tricks his son into becoming Galactus and has to lie to him because if this version of Galactus knew he was actually Franklin Richards, everything would go to shit. So Reed Richards has to basically sacrifice his son to save the universe.
Wow.
And Captain America has like a scar on his forehead and wears a toga for some reason. I don't know. It looks cool. The Trilogy, the Deadpool Trilogy. That's one of those seminal classics.
Yeah, but it's always underscored with, but Grant Morrison did it first.
Yeah. Well, but it is important within the modern I was about to say Old Man Logan, but
more like the idea of Old Man Logan.
They just don't like the incest Hulks.
Yeah.
Planet Hulk. Planet Hulk's good. It could fit up there. It says some shit about morality in life.
The thing is, like, Marvel's got a lot of really good little moments, but there's nothing that like makes a grand statement about the industry as a whole. And when they try to make, let me finish.
Okay.
If you look at DC's history, a lot of their best stories come about because Marvel gets these hot young writers who are fans of Marvel and just want to work for Marvel, and they write some really good shit, but then Marvel are assholes to them and they decide to leave the company, and then DC goes, oh, people like this guy. We could get some money if this guy's name was on our books. And so they hire them,
And they have
and
experience.
they do the most amazing shit of their career at DC.
You know what I would put up to Watchmen and Animal Man and all those kind of things? The recent run of Silver Surfer.
Yeah, okay. I could see that. But that's just one of those things I've always thought is like, especially because I've read Marvel Comics, the Untold Story so many times, is like, there's just this thing in the industry where Marvel makes them, DC takes them. It's
Are
kind
you
of
more
like,
of a DC fan?
I don't know anymore.
Because your favorite hero is Supergirl.
Yeah, I guess I grew up with DC characters, but I definitely do like a lot of Marvel characters now that I'm older and I've gotten to know them. Like when I was a kid, the only Marvel character I really knew was Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, because of the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that was kind of like the opposite for me.
The Raimi movies were coming out when I was a kid.
Yeah. But like, I was always much more invested in Marvel, and I just kind of knew some of the DC characters.
Hmm.
So it was kind of the opposite. But I am forever and always a merry member of the Marvel Marching Society. That, like, tattoo Excelsior on my ass, I am good.
That's fair enough. See,
Like,
I've always had the idea that if I ever got a tattoo, there are like 4 things I want a tattoo of. There are 4 symbols I want on my body. One is the Autobot insignia. The other is Kuga's mark. Then there is the Power Rangers lightning bolt. And the final thing would be an S shield.
See, I want Hellboy's right-handed doom on my right arm.
Nice.
Not full arm tattoo, but like a little tiny thing on the crook of the elbow.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Right-handed doom on the right arm, that'd just be dope. But now we're just talking comic books in general.
Yeah, I mean, is there anything else really to say about this Animal Man run? It's good.
I think any other Animal Man run has been like that people say is good is always going to have to live up to this run.
It's always going to have that little asterisk next to it.
Fuck,
It's
I just remembered another.
Not as good as Morrison's.
I just remembered there's another like landmark pillar of the industry that DC made, All-Star Superman.
Yep.
And guess who wrote that?
Grant frickin' Morrison.
And guess what happens in there? He brings back some old characters and does some weird fucking shit with them. That's Grant Morrison's MO. Bring back an old character, does some weird fucking psychedelic shit with them, and I love him for it.
Yeah. That is definitely his thing. Alright, well, let's go ahead and move on to everybody's favorite part of the show, and I'm not going to try and sing the song because I'm sick and my voice is fucked.
It's time for Fucked Up Proof Facts with me.
Exactly.
One pomegranate can hold more than 1,000 seeds.
I think I already knew that, but that's still cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and skip the Q&A segment this week because I've decided now that we've actually gotten a viewer submitted question and we have the thread on the Modular Media Reddit. We're only going to take questions. We're only going to do that segment when we have new questions. So you can.
I do think we should refresh that post every couple weeks or so.
Yeah. Yeah, no new question selection. Random question generator is what I was trying to say. That's done for now because the joke was getting old anyway, I think.
How many times can I just be weird with saying a number?
I don't know.
Well, now we'll never know because we're not doing the segment anymore.
Fair enough. But you know what we are doing?
Things.
We're selecting the topic for the next episode. So are you ready to find out what we're going to be talking about next time, Chris?
Let's see. Is it going to be something weird I suggested or something weird I suggested?
I don't know. Let's find out. It's going to be something weird you suggested. Next time, we're talking about mouth sounds.
Oh, mouth sounds. Yay. Neil Cicerega.
Yeah, I know that boy.
He's an internet boy who does internet things. You may know him from Potter Puppet Pals, The Ultimate Showdown of Ultimate Destiny.
Yep.
And that one Ariel comic where she gets like 8 legs and like 7 pussies.
Excuse me?
This is a genuine reaction to me saying that. I love you. You haven't seen that comic?
I have not.
Oh my god. Hold on. Before we end this show, I gotta send it. Well, I'm just in falsetto now.
Is it longer than 2 pages?
It's like 5 pages, but it's like quick.
Okay. Whatever. We're already way over time anyway.
Yeah. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Okay. Okay. Here it is. Nope. I want to go here. All right. It is on his Tumblr. So here. Oh god, kill me now.
Can I wait 5 minutes?
All right. So, quick bonus reaction because fuck life. All right, that's the comic.
Oh my god, was this made in MS Paint?
Probably.
What? Well, that's fucked. Anyways, you know what else is fucked?
The end of the show?
Yeah, that you can, subscribe to the Modular Media channel if you want to get every episode of this podcast as it comes out. You can also download MP3s of every episode from Google Drive and listen to it on the go, assuming you don't have YouTube Premium. You can follow at the Modular Media on Twitter to keep up with all of our bullshit. Just all of it will be there. You can follow Chris's shit. Chris, tell him about your shit.
You can follow me on Twitter at Boingo_Rider. And you can follow me on the YouTubes at Boingo Rider. The link is in the description. I make video editorial bullshit stuff. What else? Oh, I have Discord. Link to that is in the description.
Yeah. And I make shit. It's shit. It's it's on YouTube. You can go find it, The Vacuuminator or Simeon Scott. Either way, you'll find a channel. I got Twitter. It's at The Vacuuminator. And things and stuff. That's pretty much it. I'm feeling very low effort tonight because I'm still a little sick, okay? Give me a break. I do every other outro perfect. This one's gonna be shitty and not giving a fucking. And you know what? The podcast is just over now. It's just over. Get out. Go read Morrison's Analytical, man, if you haven't already. We spoiled it all, but you can go read it. Go.
Excelsior.